Touchdown, Chargers!
Welcome to Chargers Weekly, and with Jahleel Addae. Jahleel's going to be a little bit of a shorter one because with the players having the weekend off, with the extended sort of mini-bye, just going to kind of recap what we saw last night. We're doing this Friday in Thursday Night Football. Huge victory over the Broncos, and then we'll get into next week's contest against the Patriots with another Chargers Weekly back to our originally scheduled posting date of Thursday. So I'm going to start with this because someone who's been through it, kind of take me through what's going on, a defense, specifically a secondary, when you got 3 drives, 3 consecutive touchdowns, run game is working for the Broncos. You're coming off a second half where you had 5 possessions, 5 scores, 3 touchdowns, 2 field goals from the Buccaneers. How do you get that thing right? Like, kind of what's the communication like to say, all right, let's get this thing figured out?
Well, it just starts with, we always talk about it every time we come on this show, and it's about the culture, it's about the coaches, it's about the players' belief, and they understand that, listen, no matter what is going on in the game, no matter how the game's going, we believe in each other, we believe in our scheme, and the coaches are confident enough not to start pointing fingers, but more so figure out how to get it done. Obviously, like you said last week against the Bucs, very, very tough outing for the defense. Then they come in against the Broncos, and the Broncos are on fire, money. I mean, 3 possessions, 3 touchdowns, right? And then they go into halftime, and they come out, and then it's punt, I think, and a field goal attempt, right?
Field goal on their first possession, and then 3 and out, 6 plays, like 8 yards or 12 yards or something, 3 and out, where their next 3 after
so
that.
it's really simple, and it's just them believing in their defense, right? And all season long, this defense has played well, and I think that they felt like, hey, we have sputtered maybe last week, and we've came out sleepy. They looked sleepy.
They did.
They came out looked really lethargic, not much energy like we see the defense fly around. And I think they went into halftime, and it was probably some words thrown around. It was, some corrections made on what they were seeing the Broncos were doing. But it just shows the belief in this team and belief in the coaches, and especially with the decimated secondary that this team has, man. It was impressive to see how they came out in the second half.
Yeah, you led me right to it, because I think what people maybe fail to understand, because, what do? We follow the ball. So we watch a lot of Justin Herbert. We're watching a lot of the front and Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, and maybe a little bit of Deion Henley there because he's making all these tackles. And oftentimes we're not necessarily playing or focusing our eyes on the back end of the defense and what's back there, even if they're not involved in the play. And what I noticed, you are, and that's why I'm bringing it up, because I think what people fail to notice is, number one, make sure you recognize how important Alohi Gilman is to this team and what it has meant since he has gone down and been on IR. Then you've got his backup, Elijah Molden, and how important he is to this team. In the first meeting against the Broncos, had an interception, right? And so now you got Marcus May back there with Tony Jefferson. So Tony Jefferson, again, we talked about this, prior to the Atlanta game, was a scout with the Ravens last year, and he's back playing football. So he's playing 100% of the snaps as that one high safety.
With a hammy.
And who's the other guy? Marcus May. And he's gone after 3 snaps, and guess who has to go high? Number 3. So now you've got Derwin after 3 snaps playing high safety, and that run game is gash. And to me, that was the biggest adjustment, where Minter just said, all right, Kendall Williamson, I know you just got here, but go on and get back there, because number 3 is going to be on the line of scrimmage for the rest of the game. And, man, it changed everything.
Yeah, because when it first happened, they went to using Jahleel as the nickel.
Right.
And that's what the Broncos wanted. They wanted Jahleel at the nickel, bring the formation to the field, fast motion, jet motion, force him to get into the box. Now he's in the run fit. Now he's taking on guards. Now he's taking on tackles. And that's where you've seen – I mean, he's a baller. I love Jahleel, but he's not the same person in the run game that Derwin is, and that's why they use Derwin in the big nickel so much. You could blitz him. He can cover the tight end. He can cover slots. If you bump motion, if you slide him in the box, he's playing the box better than most linebackers in the NFL, right? So when it happened, I literally told my wife on the couch, I was like, darn it, they're going to have to move Derwin back to safety, deep safety, and they're going to try to use that against us and use Jahleel in the run game. And then you've seen it started to –
They went right at him.
They went right at him. And it's the NFL. That's what they do. They look for matchups. They look for disadvantages. And I seen soon as Marcus May went out, I was like, look, Coach Minter's going to have to just leave Derwin at the big nickel, and whoever he has left on the roster has to go be – you know what, Coach Minter? I'll drive
Give me
up.
a jersey.
I'll drive up. Give me a jersey. So, man, it was awesome, though. Credit
37?
37.
There we go.
37.
Look
Pull
at
it
that.
out. Pull it out.
Right
I'm
here.
ready. I'm
Right
ready,
here.
baby.
Still got it stored right here. 37.
No doubt. So
Yeah.
I seen it when Marcus went down. Obviously, I was like, yeah, this is going to kind of hurt the secondary here and the defense overall. But Coach Menor sticking with his guns and saying, you know what, no matter what, we're gonna die on our shield. And that's with Derwin James playing in that box closer to the line of scrimmage, and it helped the defense a lot.
Yeah, you're talking about running for 6.6, I think it was, yards per carry in the first half. 2.3 in the second half, and Derwin affecting. That's what was so, I think, maddening about the game. And I think this is part of a bigger conversation overall with Bo Nix, right? Is his ADOT, his average depth of target, was 3 yards.
It was annoying.
3 yards. It was just dumping off, and guys were, you could tell it was an adjustment thing, right? Where it's like they're just not quite in their right spot, and there's Junior kind of stuck over here, and it's like there's a big play there, and you could tell they can just fix it. It's not a team that gives you explosives, you know. They had the one big pass to Marvin Mims, and it should have been flagged for PI, but they get away with it, so whatever. But outside of that, that's not what they do. They're just dinking and dunking, and that's how you can have I'm assuming that's how you can have the difference between the first half and the second half, because it's not explosive plays that are getting you. It's Marvin Mims catching a ball 1 yard past the line of scrimmage and going 54 yards. Like, that's what this offense does.
And the running game was working so well for them in the first half that when the running game is working for you, your playbook's at your disposal. So now they're worried about the run. And then they're running and they're playing play action. Then they're booting, right? And then they're doing quick game. And it's just they were able to do whatever they wanted to because of how well the running game was. Now, once the running game was stopped, now it's like guys aren't flying downhill as fast. People are starting to, take their reads, read their keys, see exactly what's happening in front of them. I think the game slowed down for the defense in the second half, and they were able to, even though he kept checking down, what they did well in the second half as well, what they didn't do in the first is they tackled well in space.
Yes.
Right? So even though they were making those check downs in the first half, those guys were wiggling, missing 1 or 2 tackles, and now you have a first down. I mean, the fullback probably had 3 or 4 catches in the first half, right? So it wasn't really that they were taking us up top and, explosive plays, because we were keeping that 2 shell high. We were keeping a roof on the defense, so to say. But it was just really annoying. Run game, boots, quick game, and he was taking what the defense was giving him. And credit to him in the first half, and it worked for them. Yeah,
and Sean Payton and his hubris made sure to let the country know, because he wrote "run it" on the top of the play card. And don't think that was not for anything but a television production.
Of course.
I'm sorry. That's exactly what that was, which is why it was nice to see him have to eat it in the second half. And all of a sudden, "run it" started disappearing from the play card. And I think I'll say this. I think it's actually in large part on him. He did not run it as much in the second half. He started first down passes, and he was trying to get his Bo Nix flex going and all that.
He was feeling himself too much.
He really was, and it bit him. And I'll tell you, so before I get to the final 8 seconds of the first half, because it's one of the greatest moments that we've seen in a long time in the free kick, I do want to point this out, because Chargers go 3 and out on their first play, right? On their first series. They lose the coin toss, they defer, they go 3 and out. Yep. Hot knife through butter. Broncos right down the field, touchdown, and now you're like, oh boy. So you need an answer. And I thought it was telling. Like, to me, it just sort of encapsulates the story of this season and the story really of Justin Herbert's career and who he's willing to throw to and how he wants to get things going. What was his drive starter on that first play of the second series? A guy that just came off the field playing defensive tackle, dump off to Scott Matlock playing fullback. He jukes a guy, trucks another, gets 10 yards, and you can just see the offense. You could, if you watch that play, for people who can go back and watch it on film, you see them all like, okay,
Matty.
And, you want to talk about a drive starter and just setting a tone and getting guys to kind of forget about the previous 8-9 minutes.
Right.
I don't think people, maybe I'm making too much out of it, but man, it just felt like that's how you get it going.
Yeah, because when it happened, I said the same thing to myself. And then when you looked at it, he was distributing the ball to, I think, 10. Okay, so 10 different targets, right?
Yeah.
So he's spreading the ball around. It's not like, G-Rose drawing up a play for one receiver to get 5 or 6 catches. No, Justin's dropping back. He's surveying the field, and he's dishing it off to guys, like you said, Matty.
Scott Matlock to start the second drive.
Exactly. So it's, we can go all day long. I'll say this. They say there's a heartbeat of a team, right? And there was 2 pulses on the offense and the defense. One was Derwin James on defense, and then it was Herbert. Herbert put the team on his back last night, and he won the game, right? And on a national stage where everyone said he can't do it, everyone's, it's always this criticism about what he can't do rather than just appreciating what the guy does, right? So I think that was really when the stars needed to show up, the two biggest heartbeats of the team showed up.
Yeah, for the I know we got a ton of them. For the folks that like to defend Herbert, I don't think you need to. I mean, his play does it for him. But if you want to, like what I repeatedly tell people, and it's why it's such a damn shame to see someone as smart with his fancy Harvard education, and I like Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think he does a really good job, but you would think that it would be someone that would do a little bit more homework if you're going to take the shot at someone as talented as Herbert that plays the same position you played. Right. To recognize
better than you played.
Well, yeah, obviously.
I'll
See,
say
now
it.
you're going to take a shot. I'm not looking at. All I'm saying is, just look at the number of fourth quarter leads that he had guided the Chargers to with under 5 minutes to go. Like he brought up his record. Oh, it's 8-30, this or whatever it was, and it's like, how many of those games did he have a lead with under 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter? Herbert's done it in the past. The defense and offense and special teams all play a part.
1,000%.
And so you can't put it on one guy. The other thing on top of that is his primetime numbers are good. He has been really good in primetime, and there's a reason why last night was their 17th primetime game since 2022, which is the most in the NFL, tied with the Bills and the Cowboys, because they're really good and they play competitive games in primetime when the lights shine the brightest. You mentioned the two heartbeats. I thought Trey in the postgame, he was just losing his mind, and I think he said he went into sicko mode and said, man, I would follow him into the depths of hell. I'd follow him anywhere. And I think that's because he isn't really the most, he has no hubris. Right. There's no boasting from Justin Herbert, so the other guys kind of have to do it for him.
100%.
And they all did that. After the game, I lost my train of thought because I was just thinking about how dumb Ryan Fitzpatrick looked with his little professorial whiteboard out there and then having to eat it in the postgame and not even having the courage to bring the guy out for the postgame interview. Nothing wrong with bringing Ladd and Derwin out. They certainly had great games. But, yeah, bring the guy out and tell him.
Who won the game.
Yeah, you made a fool of yourself in the pregame, which is fine. I do it regularly on here every single week. But it perfectly put. I'm trying to think of where I want to go now because I just can't stop thinking about how dumb he looked with his shirt unbuttoned and doing the little thing with the pointer on the whiteboard. And then, by the way, to come up and have Andrew Whitworth say, well, he can't really climb the pocket because the interior of the line has been a little bit soft. So he's kind of had to roll out to the edges all season long. So I appreciate the point you made about he's got to climb the pocket better, but kind of hard to do it when there's a guy in your lap.
On Location, official hospitality partner of the NFL and the LA Chargers, offering Chargers fans the opportunity to lock in verified Super Bowl tickets and access to exclusive pregame parties with an official VIP ticket package. Take your pick from the best seats at Caesars Superdome, including the most coveted seats at the 50-yard line, and exclusive access from private pregame parties featuring big-name entertainment, chef-inspired food, and top-shelf bar to post-game field celebrations. Incredible experiences are coming in hot. 5-star hospitality. Go first class all the way from the moment you arrive in New Orleans. Enjoy personalized concierge services, excursion planning, reserved parking, a VIP gifting suite, and many more premier perks. Visit onlocationexp.com/SBLIX or call 877-373-5062 to secure your ticket packages today.
I'll get to this. Let's shift to more positive things and celebrate this because it was a big win.
Yep.
Look, I've got a mental catalog of probably 50 throws that I can access. I don't know if I've seen a better one than the touchdown throw to Darius Davis. As a defensive back, give me an idea, level of difficulty on that throw.
I mean, I haven't seen it in a long time. Like, rolling to your left. Originally wanted Darius Davis in the flat. Darius Davis improvises and heads upfield because he sees his quarterback's in trouble. He has a defensive lineman bearing down on him. And when he throws the ball, if you look, Darius and the safety, are kind of on the same level.
So it's almost an anticipation throw.
Right. And so he throws him open as he's getting hit while the defensive lineman is coming to his right side by where the ball is.
While rolling to his left.
While rolling to his left on a bad ankle and throws a
seed
dime.
Yeah. Just right in the hole.
I mean, not too shabby. I can do that. I can do it.
And that, by the way, if you're Darius Davis, what I would probably have like a nice frame and a monitor and just have that thing on a loop in my foyer because that's his first touchdown. First touchdown from scrimmage. He obviously had the punt return for a touchdown, but and these are two guys. You got two guys And that's, you were talking about it, right? 10 different receivers. You got Darius Davis, who first touchdown reception of his career, and how does it work? He's in the flat, it's just kind of little release, and instead he sees Herbert running, and he's got the mental fortitude to say, oh, I'm going to get out of here.
Right.
And it's an ad-libbed play from two really great players.
Right, and it's impressive because Darius Davis and Justin Herbert doesn't have that kind of chemistry. It's not like he's his number one or he's his number two or even his number three, right? Darius is known for his electrifying return ability, putting him in the backfield, doing jet sweeps.
All-pro last year.
Yeah, for sure, doing jet sweeps. But for him to have the mental fortitude to say, hey, my quarterback's in trouble. Hey, I can either go. He could have went right. He could have went left. He could have came back to him. He turned up the field where there was a voided zone, and you've seen Herbert throw one of the best throws of the season. So it was really impressive, man. I was on my couch watching that one, and all I could do was I just shook my head and started laughing.
Must be nice.
Must be nice.
His 25th career catch, and it goes for his first career touchdown. The other first career receiving TD, and he got his first career rushing TD, a guy that put up nearly 1,500 yards and 20 touchdowns his senior season for Coach Harbaugh at Michigan in 2021. And Hassan Haskins, man, you want to talk about run after catch and getting some wiggle for a guy that's really just great special teams player, really good in pass pro, and here's your opportunity. And it's something Coach has talked about. Guys are going to get opportunities, and when they come, we expect them to take advantage of them. Little shovel pass, and Haskins does the rest for 34 yards, man. Eluding guys, turning on the jets, shaking off tackles. I mean, it was an impressive run to give the Chargers that 10-point lead.
Yeah, and that was really the dagger money when you looked at it, right? So Herbert checks it down, a little shovel pass, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe a 5 to 10 yard game, but he eludes one defender, puts on the speed. Like, it's a beautiful thing because, like we're saying, we're talking about guys who aren't big time names in the organization, guys who are special teams contributors, guys who are maybe second or third string on the depth chart, and they come in at the biggest moments when the lights are bright on national television. And it was just a complete team win, man. I don't know how at the end of the game, you seen in the locker room, Coach Harbaugh says, you know what, the game ball goes to everybody. There was not one person. Obviously, Justin played a really phenomenal game on the offensive side. Dicker, we'll get into that in a little bit of what he did and had the momentum switch. But everybody played a pivotal part in this game, and it was a beautiful thing to see. It was a real team win. Yeah,
I mean, and I think it's sort of like we talk about the Scott Matlock pass, right? So we can go on, and I think it mirrors what Coach Harbaugh said after the game, right? Which is, who do they have up on the stage? They picked from 10 guys. So think about the first down catch on third down from Hayden Hurst that got that drive started. Guy has not played in a game since November 10th, has been banged up all year, and in one of the most crucial moments of the game ends up making that catch and getting that first down. And here, you talk about chemistry. Here's a guy that's pretty much been banged up since that second preseason game, and there hasn't been a lot of that opportunity. But again, it speaks to the greatness of Herbert. The other one, Tucker Fisk, you're blocking tight end, catches the ball, and he's a guy gets a little wiggle, drags three people for another first down. I mean, it was just, when you look at the box score, it is hilarious to see kind of how he spread it out.
And it's kind of fitting. I got my Crucial Catch sweater on, Charger edition. How about Joshua Palmer?
Yes.
In the back of the end zone against Patrick Surtain II. A tip ball, 2-point conversion that's needed, very, very pivotal point of the game. Concentrates, one hand, toe tag drags, and does the Michael Jackson lean for two. Like, you got to love it, man. It's one of the most complete team wins I've seen all season long.
Yeah, 2-point conversion number 2 for Josh Palmer. Remember that laser in Atlanta, man. You want to talk about a fastball that Josh secured that just, I don't know how he even saw it. It was threaded through like 3 defenders. And then this one gets tipped at the linebacker level. And it's not like it was a floated pass. It was a fastball. So you got a fastball tipped. Now the trajectory's changed. Surtain's back is turned to the ball. And it's funny when you go back and watch it. You can just see that it's a half disbelief, 50% disbelief, 50% disgust on Surtain's face. It's just like, there's no way, because it's tipped, and then Josh tips it again as he's falling out of bounds to himself, drags the toe, and that makes it a 10-point game and changes everything. So, or I shouldn't say a 10-point game. That was the touchdown before Haskins. It was as complete, and this is on. So that's. I feel like we got you know what? We don't have the offensive side finished yet, Jahleel, because here's something we talked about. 11 carries against the Bucs. 11 carries. 11 carries in the first half. And it's not like they were popping them yet. They were still going for like 3 yards per carry. But what have we said repeatedly? Just stick with it, man.
Stick with
just
it.
tenderize that meat.
Money, what I say,
Tenderize
body
that meat.
blows.
Exactly.
Body blows.
Exactly.
And in the 12th round, what happens?
There's the knockout,
There's the
43
knockout.
yards, and it's a bad angle from Sternad, and Gus is able to make him pay for it, and you're talking about 43 yards and the difference in perhaps a win versus a loss, but they stuck with it.
Yeah.
That's what was the most impressive. Now, I know
agree.
the numbers are going to be a little lopsided because of the 3 technically rushes that Herbert had at the end of the game, right. So it's 21 total, I think, is what they show. To how many attempts? To 28 attempts. Like that's what this team is.
Yeah.
I feel like the O-line is better going this way than they are going this way.
And we talked
the
about
interior of that line.
Yeah, and we talked about it a few episodes ago, Money. It's just like everybody that started off the season and the running game is strong and it's rushing. JK's rushing for 120, 140 yards, and then slowly but surely we're like, we're not getting the same effect in the running game. But it's not about the flashy runs. It's not about the 100+ rushing yard games. It's about how can you beat a team down for 4 quarters, and that's Jim Harbaugh's blueprint all over this team, right? We talked about the 4th quarter program, what they did in the offseason, what they did in training camp. After training camp, they go through a 4th quarter program and they work out and they do different exercises and different things to, stress your body while you're tired. And you see it continue to pay off in the 4th quarter. They're just physically and mentally outlasting other teams.
The one, I know I said that was the last thing I was going to say about, but the one thing, and I'd love to get your kind of opinion on it here. So Justin, I think, he didn't run in the first half. I think he had 2 carries for 3 yards, and I think the ankle really came into focus when they didn't have a 3rd and 1. They had a 3rd and about maybe a football, and they opted not to sneak. And I'm like, okay, I guess I can kind of see that. His ankle's not good. You don't want to tweak it and have him leaning into multiple 300-pound bodies trying to push that pile forward. So I'm thinking, man, this is not good. Mobility, you end up losing 2. You got to kick the field goal instead of getting a first down as you kind of got this thing rolling. And instead of being 21-14, it's 21-10 and all that sort of stuff. And then all of a sudden, and it's almost like the coaches were protecting Herbert from himself.
Right.
And then that first drive of the second half, 2nd and 4 at the 36, Herbert up the middle for 18 yards. And
it was a rough 18.
And it was a rough 18, and it was almost like, okay, if you're not going to let me go, I'm going to go. I'm tired of this. And it's set to me. That was, I think DJ Daniel Jeremiah on the broadcast, he had his flip card and he took out a Sharpie and he wrote 7:55 3Q. He's like, I'm going to note this. He goes, that is a spark. That is a moment that all of these players are going to look at and say, oh, okay. It's like the Forrest Gump, the braces come flying off the legs when the guy goes running. It's like, oh, he can run. And it was, you did feel it, right?
Yeah, you felt it. And when you watch the TV copy, that ankle was banded. It looked like an iRobot ankle, dude. It was like, there's no way he should be running on that ankle. And I think that was more so him saying, you know what, I'm going to put the team on my back no matter how I'm feeling. Right now, we're fighting for a playoff game. He said it after the game that, look, every game right now is a playoff game. And you've seen how he went about it. Like, hey, this is a playoff game. This is a playoff atmosphere. This one matters the most because it's the next one. It's the division game. And my team needs me right now. The play broke down. Listen, he ran, like I said, it was an 18, like it was he stepped through a tackle. He like, it wasn't just, he ran for 18 and nobody was around him.
It was a physical run.
It was a physical run. He broke a few tackles, man, and it really uplifted the team's morality all over the field. I mean, you felt it. Another one is Cameron Dicker's kick, obviously was a momentum changer, but that particular play with Justin Herbert rushing for 18 yards on a bad ankle, man, it really showed who he was.
Yeah, the Broncos came out, kicked a field goal on their opening possession to extend the lead once again to 11. Then they score the touchdown. What does the defense do after that? They force a 3-and-out on 3 yards. And then what does the offense do? Score a touchdown to take the lead, 27-24. And you can probably circle that play as sort of that moment of when you felt like, we got full Herb.
Exactly.
We got the full complement of what he's able to do. All right, let's do the halftime. I didn't know, like I fully, it's not good for me not to know this. I should know this exact rule. I did not have it exactly right. I assumed that they were going to have I assumed that they were going to have to snap it back for a field goal, not just kick it from the 47-yard line. So I was not aware of that free kick rule. We were trying to piece it all together, and I was so confused because the offensive line was still on the field. And I'm like, well, why they're just going to throw a Hail Mary, and that's, I think, what kind of set some people off. But let's start at the point of why it happened.
Yep.
We say it all the time. Hubris. Coaching hubris is why that play happened. And it's been a knock on Sean Payton his whole career that he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room.
He was trying to be cute.
You got 40 seconds. You're on your own 18, I think, or 13.
And threw the ball.
And loses 3 yards on the first play. So instead of having like a 2nd and 2 and okay, let's take some shots, it's a 2nd and 13.
Right. And you would think
throws it again.
You think you'd run it there.
Because he takes 2 knees and Chargers are going to do it. Like, yeah, whatever. Let's get to the
1,000%.
And instead throws the ball. They call the timeout on the next one.
I think Harbaugh really just called a timeout like, hey, I don't know, maybe something can happen.
Right. And here you go. Tremont Smith makes the mistake. Darius Davis gets clipped on the fair catch. You get the extra 15 yards, and you got yourself football history. 1976, Ray Wersching, Chargers versus Bengals. Last time it happened, and it was a really cool moment. Being in the booth and just kind of looking at the operations guys to the left of us, and everyone's just laughing. I was talking to Joe, who works in there, and he does high school football, and he's like, he goes, I was telling everyone, and everyone was there, and they're like, oh, yeah, he wouldn't shut up. He was like, he goes, I saw it. I think it was, might have been Chaparral versus Murrieta or something like that. He goes, it was for the game-winning field goal, was a free kick.
Hey, Money, I played almost a decade in the NFL, and I had no idea. So you're not by yourself. Don't feel too bad, okay? I'm pretty sure the viewers at home probably didn't know that as well. But being a professional athlete for 10 years, you've been around the game for a very long time. I had no idea. We'd always see kickers kick the ball off, and it'd go through the upright, and the crowd would cheer like, that'd be sweet if that actually counted.
Right.
But lo and behold, there's a situation
where
it could count. Yes. So that was awesome. And then playing for Anthony Lynn in 2018, he would always tell us in the team meeting room, I don't want to lie and say the percentage, but the percentages was really, really high on the team that scored last before halftime. That if you scored last before halftime, your chances of winning increase significantly, right? And that was such a momentum swinger for the Chargers.
Yeah.
Scoring before half, getting those 3 points, and you see it. What happened at the end of the game? Who became victorious?
Exactly.
The Chargers.
Yeah.
So it's an awesome, not only an awesome deal, but it was a very big play for the Chargers at that time, and it swung the momentum.
I think it's beyond just a field goal to cut it to a one-score game in 8. Look, you make Darius has, let's say somehow there's like 16 seconds and he pops a punt for 2 seconds left and Dicker bangs a 57-yarder. Yeah, that's great. That's great momentum, but the way it happened, everyone's going into the locker room just smiling, even though they're down 8 points. It was just kind of like, holy crap, that really just happened. Yeah, exactly. And it was, I'm sure half of them were getting it explained to them why it happened or what that was.
I'm pretty sure.
And so it almost lightens the mood of, we gave up 3 consecutive touchdown scoring drives. We're down 21-13. It's a pivotal game. And, you heard what Coach said about Derwin and his message to the team. And just, you got to give it your all. Every single person in here is expected to give every last ounce of energy and effort that they have in this second half. And if we do, we'll get out with the win, and that's what happened.
Yes, sir. It was a beautiful thing. And the thing about it is the kick could have been good money from like
65,
70. 68. It was money.
Yeah.
And it was no effort. It was like, boop. And that's Dicker, though.
Yeah.
He doesn't get rattled, dude.
He's the all-pro, man.
He is, man.
He is the all-pro. And I think that kick made it, because that was his second field goal. So I want to be sure. I believe he is now 41 for 42 at SoFi Stadium, kicking field goals.
He's a beast, man.
Yeah.
He's a beast.
And Coach Harbaugh, we were talking about this before we started the pod, for all the people that think sometimes he just, says whatever the heck is on top of mind. When he was asked about it, he's like, it's my favorite rule.
Right.
I've been trying to get, and everyone's just kind of in the press room rolled their eyes. And then all of a sudden he's like, I remember it was like 2012. We had Phil do it. We had old Mr. Dawson do it. And everyone was like, what? And someone chimed in and they're like, yeah, it's this. He said, I think it's like from 70. And someone chimed in and said, no, it's 71 yards. He's like, we tried to do it back then. And everyone's like, holy crap.
He wasn't lying.
No, he's not lying. He's exactly right. Maybe it is his favorite rule. And he finally got one. And again, the first time in 48 years. So awesome. I feel like we covered most of it. They get the first season sweep against the Broncos since 2010, only the 5th time in franchise history. They swept the Broncos. Interesting little nugget on the Broncos. They won Super Bowl 50 in 2015. They have not been back to the playoffs since 2015. It is the longest drought for a team, playoff drought for a team that won the Super Bowl. And now, so we kind of flip it forward a little bit. So let's just kind of think about this. You've got the Broncos that have to go to Cincinnati to take on Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, that high-octane offense. And we just saw what the Chargers did. Hung 34 on them, 24 in the second half alone.
Yep.
So that would then give the Bengals the tiebreaker. The Broncos would then, depending on what happens here, how is Patrick Mahomes' foot, how are the Chiefs playing? They got back-to-back division leaders. Houston this week in Kansas City, Pittsburgh on a short week in Pittsburgh.
Two really good teams.
So is the number one seed going to come into balance? Because that's Denver's week 18 game.
Right.
So let's say that it plays out where Denver finishes the season on a 3-game losing streak. The Bengals finish the season on a 3-game win streak.
Right.
If they're the 7, the Chargers are the 6 or the 5, depending on how the Ravens work this thing out. They still have the Steelers this week. And I know it's not a super easy road for them, but I should probably just look it up. But let's just say that you have the Chargers, the Ravens, and the Bengals as your 3 wild card teams. Would it surprise you that all 3 of those wild cards would win their first round? So the Ravens have the Steelers this week, then they go to Houston. And then they get the Browns at home. So could they lose 2 of those 3? Yeah, maybe. And
the Browns play them well, too.
Exactly.
It's a division game. Don't forget, that's a division game as well.
So if you end up having, let's say your top 4, and for this to happen, the Chiefs, let's say, are faltering. So let's just say the Bills are the 1 and they get the bye. Now you have Chiefs 2, Steelers, Texans.
Yeah.
Would you be confident if you're the Chiefs up against the Bengals right now with the state of each of those? Like, how comfortable would you be if you're Kansas City in Arrowhead and Joe Burrow's coming to town? Burrowhead.
Burrow is Patty Mahomes' kryptonite.
That's what I mean.
So not really confident. And the way that the Chiefs have continued to win this year, like we talked about it a couple episodes ago with the Chiefs, and they've squeaked by, right? And credit to them, winning in the NFL is hard.
It's the most important thing.
Right. You win. I don't care if it's by 30.
They do it.
I don't care if it's by 2, but they're winning, and they're winners. But with that being said, Patrick Mahomes has had trouble against Joe Burrow and the Bengals, and Burrow has proved that he can beat them. So, no, they're not going to go into that game feeling like, hey, really feeling spunky or feeling real confident. I think it's going to be one of those games where, like, look, we need to tighten up these bolts. We need to tighten up our laces, and it's going to be a dogfight.
I think the big question is look, best case scenario for the Chiefs, considering his ankle, is probably it's the ability to not have to play that game. And the Broncos end up waltzing in because they're playing Chiefs backups, or maybe they're not. Or if you're the Chiefs, it's like, we don't want to win this game. We would much rather have the Broncos in as a 7 seed than the Bengals in as a 7 seed. But it's interesting how, and so I don't bring it up just to kind of, there is something direct with the Chargers, because I do think there is a scenario where the Chargers could be locked into the 6.
Right.
And if that's the case going into Week 18, now you can give yourself a bye. If you're locked at the 6, you can't be the 5. You're not going to be the 7.
Rest up a little bit.
You could end up resting all your guys. You don't have to bring JK back if he's ready to go, and you're fighting to get that higher seed or something along those lines. You punch your ticket for the tournament, and you can get Joey rest. You can get Khalil rest. These guys that you can see have played a lot of, especially Khalil. He's played a lot of snaps, man. And you can get these guys to rest up a little bit. Obviously, Denzel with the groin, just shut him down for the remainder of the season.
You can tell it was bothering him.
Exactly.
Last night.
So if you can just shut him down to the playoffs, that's the way this thing could play out, where maybe Week 18. And then there's also, let's just say that the Raiders are in line for the number 1 or the number 2 pick going into Week 18.
Oh, they're tanking.
On an 11 or 12 game losing streak.
Oh, they're tanking.
And now you're taking on the Chargers backups, all backups, and you got to go out there. Because it's not like Antonio Pierce. It looks like it's going to be hard for him to come back.
Right.
He probably wants to get a win. He didn't want to end on a 13-game losing
streak
or whatever.
I don't care about your picks.
Exactly. And then next thing you know, you tumble from number 2 all the way down to like number 7, and now you're out of the quarterback conversation. It's a heck of a win, and obviously we'll preview the Patriots. And I think probably what you're rooting for this weekend, just to kind of, I definitely want the Bengals to knock off the Browns. Want to keep that thing alive. I think you want the Steelers to beat the Ravens for sure, because they both have the tiebreaker over the Chargers. So it's going to be hard for the Steelers to lose out. They'd have to lose all 3. You could get the Ravens to lose 2 of 3,
right?
And with, again, the Texans in Houston next week.
That's a tough one.
And they may not be playing for anything. So you want the Colts to win, which they should. That way the Texans are still playing everybody, trying to get those wins to lock up the AFC South. So I think that kind of covers it.
You the man, man.
We good? No, you're the man. Best game of the year, best win of the season. First time they had a comeback victory in the fourth quarter since September of 2023.
Let's go.
Week 3 last year. They do it. And, hey, what do you know? Another primetime contest. Well, not primetime, but another flex contest against the Patriots on Saturday, nationally televised on NFL Network. Looking forward to that one. Jahleel, appreciate you. Happy holidays, by the way, everybody. Whatever you celebrate, may you celebrate it safely and warmly with your family and loved ones.